I'm gonna get going because we just hopped off. For those of you on our team meeting, we hopped off. Fast forward the first hour of our office meeting. I wanted to thank everyone for joining, and then also our panelists. This series is something, again, that really the number one thing that we can do is get more listings, and that has to be our mantra. And so, 4-step series starting with how to get a listing appointment. And so from this, we have a few panelists in different positions and different sizes of teams that can offer really good perspectives. And so our panelists are, we have Jeff and Joe Singsheim. Sorry. Jeff Nevin and Joe Singsheim with the Reliance Real Estate team. We've got Lindy Burton, who is inbound sales associate for Lifetime Realty Group. Wave your hand, Lindy. Say hi. We have Shelly Lewandowski, who is the director of operations / I think 3 or 4 roles for Team CJ Realty. And Diana Pecorelli, who is either the father or the daughter in the father-daughter team. So say hi, Diana, wave hi. And then we have Marla Breen, who is got a couple businesses that all correlate and all tie into each other in terms of providing value for her clients, and has a really good, unique perspective. And so what I'm excited for is every one of these panelists, they have a different way of sharing their value, showing their value, way they generate leads. And so this won't just be like a one-size-fits-all approach. So with that being said, I'm just going to ask the same questions, and we can just hop right into it. Now, Jeff and Joe, you guys are kind of like one, okay? So you can pick your best answer, because I know you both have your own specialties too. But the first question I have is, and if you don't know, you don't know, that's fine. Can anyone share their numbers of this year in terms of how many listing appointments you've been on, how many listings you've taken, how many listings you've sold, just to gain a little bit of perspective? Does anybody know those numbers offhand?
Jeff's got those. You want to call them out?
So you guys got to remember, our business model is we do prospect expires and for sale by owners, and I'll explain in just a second. Our listings so far this year, listing appointments, have been 59 listing appointments. Taken has been 21 of those 59. And then so far this year, we've sold 12. The reason why there's so many big difference to the amount of listings to the amount that are taken is Joe and I are constantly competing for these listings when it comes to expires. I mean, the nice thing is we do get referrals and stuff like that, and those are easy to lock in, right? Referrals are the name of the game. But that's the reason, if you guys were curious, why such a big difference is because we are competing against 2 to 3 or 4 agents. But that's our numbers.
So what you're saying is that your business model, so what they have a very good understanding of is their business model and their numbers. They've tracked it for years. And so if the ultimate goal for them is to have sellers that close and to make money, they know how to back those numbers into listings appointments taken, or listings taken and listing appointments had. And so it's all that, it's their business. So that's okay. Thank you for that, knowing your numbers. Anybody else have those numbers offhand? Any other panelists? Marla?
Unmuting me. So I have a different bit of an approach. I have been on 8 appointments this year. I've gotten all 8 of my listings. 5 of them have already either closed or are under contract, and 3 of them are scheduled to hit the market in the next 3 weeks. So kind of opposite perspective, I am very focused on the listings and the clients that I'm going after. So I have an extremely high conversion rate as to ones that I actually take.
wait to go customer.
Excellent. Shelley, do you know your team?
Yeah, so CJ had 21 listing appointments this year. We had 13 listings taken and 13 that are sold. So we still have 2 that are out there, but that's because, you know, it started on January. But anyway, so we actually also we hired a listing specialist, but it was right during COVID and he's from another state. So he actually can't get a license still in Wisconsin because it's just been shut down. So I feel like he hasn't been able to do a listing appointments. He's setting them into the future. So we haven't been on them yet, but we have like 3 coming up for him. Yeah, in the next couple weeks. So anyway, long story short. Okay.
Okay. So 21 through, 5 months. So 21, we have 8. And then Jeff, you guys had how many? 71 or 50? What did you guys have for appointments?
59.
59. Okay. Diana, do you know your number?
I was gonna mute myself. Sorry, guys. I do. So this year we're kind of down because last year I did it. We had 15 listing appointments and we got all 15. We're kind of the same way as Marla. We kind of go in there. They're kind of targeted referrals or people we know or past clients. This year we're at a unique situation. We got 6. 2 of them have closed and the other 4 are upcoming. We've had more struggle this year with waiting and holding off until it was appropriate for them. So we have a lot of people we're in communication with, but 4 are coming shortly.
Okay. And Lindy, do you have our numbers or?
I just
Yeah.
have mine personally that I set for the team. So I've
Cool.
had 20 held appointments this year. We've taken 4. And much like Joe and Jeff, we were in competition for many of those leads, but some still are waiting to go on the market. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of a higher conversion than just the 4 out of 20.
Thank you. So the reason why Lindy can provide a lot of value is because her whole job is to set listing appointments and buyer appointments. So she set 20, we've taken 4, and our team is set 71 and taken 50 and closed 30. So it's balancing your numbers. And the reason why we have 71 and taken 50 is because, well, 20 of those 71 came from Lindy's job is to convert the internet leads, the cold leads to us. And a lot of our main business is from warm leads and client parties and past clients and all of that. And so it all correlates into a business. But the biggest thing I'm hearing here, and the thing that I love about real estate, is it doesn't take 7 listing appointments a week or something to be successful. It could take 1 a week, maybe 2 a week. If you consistently did 2 listing appointments a week, you would potentially be the best listing, one of the best listing people in the entire office. And so we're not selling shoes here, we're selling houses. And so you can have 8 listing appointments, take 8 listings in 5 months, and you're going to be doing really well. And so how can we change this from 0 listing appointments to 1 or 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4? And hopefully you can walk away with 1, 2, 3 tips that you can put into action immediately and go like right from this, because we all love to learn, but if we don't learn to do, then we could be just sitting outside. Well, it's not that nice out right now, but we could be doing a lot better things. So the next part of this is what are your 3 sources of getting listing appointments? What are your top 3 ways that you generate leads or generate listings? And just talk about what that looks like for you, because I know there's many ways to do it. And if you're ever focused on more than 3, then you're not going to be doing any of those 3 very well. So just curious what your top 3 are. So do you want to go in the same order? Joe and Jeff, you share what you guys are
Can we
doing?
do that?
Yeah, I'll
So the
take
main
this one.
sources, 3 sources would be Sphere, expireds, and referrals. I'd like to point out though, when Joe and I are prospecting for, let's say, expireds or Sphere or referrals, I'd say about 65% of the time, we don't take it that one phone call. We have a very regimented follow-up for all of these prospects. For example, expireds, when I do set an appointment, it's because I called them, 5 or 6 times to finally get that appointment. So I would say out of those 3, Sphere, expires, and referrals is where the majority of our business come from. It's really all about the follow-up for Joe and I.
Okay.
Okay.
Marla?
Add
Or,
any-
sorry, Shell.
You good, Joe? Okay. Just wasn't sure if they were each gonna go each time. All right. So for Team CJ, the majority of our listing appointments come from Sphere. So that can either be referrals from past clients or it can be clients coming around again, because CJ's been in business for 10 years. So we do have a fair amount of repeat business. And then the next would be open houses. So finding buyers that also are looking to sell. So right now, it's changed a little bit of the way we need to do business with COVID, and which is why I started doing some of the Facebook lead generation to try to fill that hole that we weren't able to fill with in-person open houses. But normally we get listing appointments a good amount from people that we meet, and they also need to sell their house, want to get a new upgraded house or downsize. And then lastly, networking. So CJ is on the masterminds right now, so he couldn't be on with me, but he is kind of a connector. So he's a networker. That's another big piece of our puzzle we're kind of missing right now, just because they're not doing as many networking events, but we do get business from contractors or just people that we know that like a Modern Woodman representative that he met at a networking event for Washington County. We got a transaction buy side and sell side just closed last week. So it's like those are our 3 top places where we get our listings.
Cool. A little different than Jeff and Joe. Marla?
So I get a lot of my leads from like strategic relationships. This year and last year, about 50% of my business came from 2 different clients. From year to year, that does kind of change, whether it's flippers, but then I had, one of the partners in one of my flippers that actually passed away last year. So, I know this year I'm not going to be getting that clientele. These are just mostly people we know through the years that are also like involved in different pieces of the industry, whether they are remodelers or builders or flippers, different like moving companies, as well as like estate sales. So really like keeping great touch points with those like strategic relationships is something we do on like a monthly basis. We make sure either Jeremy or I has some sort of personal contact with, like, we call it our whale list, people that bring us a good amount of business. And then the next source of lead generation is definitely going to be our sphere of influence. And I think I've gotten a good amount of referrals through my sphere of influence by positioning myself as an expert, not only just by being, active at buying and selling real estate, but I've also have gotten very involved in real estate between being on the ALC, being involved in Women's Council, doing things with the GMAR, doing things at the WRA levels. And so I know that those are things that people that know me bring up either to myself or my mom or my in-laws or someone they ask about all the different ways that I've gotten so involved in the industry. And that's a lot of times where people are like, oh, grandpa's moving out of his house. You guys should really call Marla and Jeremy. They're so active in this industry. They do so much. You got to get in touch with them. And then my third source of lead generation is circle prospecting. So when I have a great listing in an area that I want more business in, I make sure that I have great postcards in the mail the day that I get pictures, just listed, as soon as I get an accepted offer, and as soon as I have a sold sign in the yard. And so I send them out to everybody within the neighborhood, like I said, as soon as possible. And I definitely get a handful of calls and listing appointments off of that every year.
That's awesome. We got a really good variety of ways that we're generating, and we're going to dive into these. What I would call, what Keller, not I don't want to take credit, what Keller Williams calls her strategic partnerships would be just allied resources or like business to business. And so when you look at your database, and this is just a quick little like visual. So when you look at your database, let's say there's 500 people in here. It should have like, it's like a dartboard, or there's a bullseye. The bullseye are the most important people in your database. You can call them A+ clients. You can call them allied resources. You can call them whatever you want to call them. If you simply just want to label them A, B, C, D, E, but whatever you do, there should be a tiered approach to your database. And the ones in the middle, right here, these are the ones that are going to give you multiple referrals a year. And so you can make, in theory, one would think that the best way to run a business would be to like love on these people. Because if you could say get 5 listing appointments from 6 different people every year, well, now you can wake up on January 1st and you could pretty much know you're going to have 30 listing appointments for that year. And so there could be 5 people in here, there could be 10, but if you're going to strategize around 3 sources of leads, you don't have that yet, really look into what that could look like from an allied resource piece, because that makes your business so much easier and so much more fun. Diana?
The same thing that like we have a lot of referrals are from our sphere of influence. The one thing that has really worked for me is I will do a quick CMA for clients that are just a couple of years out, somewhat like about 4 or 5 years. It seems like a big hot one for me last year. I actually sent out a teaser of a CMA, and it also says a letter in front saying this is giving you an idea what your house is worth. And by me coming out and evaluate, I can tell you more what it's worth. And I got a lot of calls on that, and with a lot of people who did list. So that's a tip for you guys if you guys are interested. Give them enough, but not all of it. And did have a range, so it did give them a teaser of roughly what their house would look like. So I did get a lot of, I'd probably say about 4 or 5 calls just off of that last year, which was pretty impressive because I didn't know it was really my consistent year of doing that. I do networking with a group, and I'm trying to get more involved in my community and getting referrals that way. So those are kind of my ways of looking at it. I came from another company prior, so if I would have had Keller Williams' model right when I started, I think I'd feel much more confident in what I'm doing. I'm really like kind of rebuilding, I would say, our business since I joined Keller Williams a year and a half ago. So
Cool. Lindy, what is your specific sources that you would say are the top 3?
Well, I would say for the team, Forever Clients and Sphere are most abundant resources. But for me personally, because I do inbound, sign calls, social media requests, and we use paid leads a little bit, Zillow and HomeLight. So those 3 would be my top.
Okay. So we're gonna get options on a lot of different ways of generating what these leads look like. So the next question, and this isn't nice, you're not gonna go on the naughty list or anything, but the question is, do you guys consistently lead generate, and what does that look like? And lead generation can come in many, many different ways. It's not just hammering out for sale by owners and FSBOs. Like it could be notes, social media, open houses, marketing, proactive calling, any certain way that you're purposely time blocking time to generate business could fall under lead generation. And so just curious of when you guys are running your business and you're looking at getting more leads and more listings, what are you proactively doing, day by day to help you in that mission and in that cause? So I'm going to work backwards here just for fun. So, Lindy, what are you doing from a lead generation standpoint? Yeah, from a lead generation standpoint. We'll leave up like follow-up as a follow-up question. So just to generate the leads.
Calling daily for sure. I feel like it's really important to stay in the habit, because if you get out of it, it's harder to jump back in. Also, I try to reach out to people on 3 different forms, so email and text too, just because some people tend to respond a lot more easily one way. So even if they say I prefer email, I check in by phone too, because it's really important to have regular conversations. So just a lot of phone calls.
How long would you typically call every day?
2 or 3 hours, usually in the morning.
Okay. And just, I don't necessarily know a great idea on this, but just for people to know, like, how many new leads do you typically get in a day or a week, or what does that flow look like for you?
Well, we just added Facebook leads, which, like Shelly was saying earlier, there are a lot. So now I would say maybe like 30 leads coming in per day about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stay busy.
Yes.
So do you have separate time that is generating the lead or following up on that initial lead, and then you have set time where because Lindy's role isn't necessarily generating new leads. That would be an outbound sales associate. So an outbound sales associate would be one that would like go out and call FSBOs or call expireds or call around neighborhoods. What her role is when she gets a lead, then she calls it right away, right? Like speed to lead within 5 minutes, as soon as possible. How can we get that lead? And so there's a difference between like that new lead, not ever contacting them yet, and then once you contact them, following up with them and spending time on there. So of your time you're calling, would you say it's mostly to get that initial contact, or is it once you got the contact and doing like follow-ups and keeping them going forward?
Mostly to get the initial contact. In fact, if I could go back to being a single agent, the advice I would give myself is do not give up so easily. It takes a long time to get some people on the phone, and you'll feel like maybe you're bothering them, and when they pick up, they'll be like, why are you calling? But often they'll say, thank you for being so persistent. I'm really busy. I really would like to get this done, but I don't have a lot of time.
So you're saying that it's not just realtors that are busy, but like other professions, they might also have like children, and they might also have long jobs, and well, maybe not commutes anymore. But I have that same, I would call it a limiting belief of like, well, they're not getting back to me. But then if I think about a different vendor trying to contact me, I'm like non-existent. That doesn't mean I'm not interested. It just means that I'm busy as hell. So thank you for that. Diana?
Yeah, speaking of kids, I have 3 of them running around, so I'm looking both ways at them. But so I'm going to admit my biggest fault is my dad does not do any phone calls. So he has a huge limiting belief. So it's always me generating the calls. So I've gotten into the habit of doing it. I need to do it more. So I'm going to admit that's my biggest fault. But I'm huge. We do send out anniversary cards, home anniversary cards to our clients, birthday cards, anniversary cards, little pop-in gifts. Maybe something happened, a get well thing. So we do a lot of personal touches that way. But I need to be more involved as far as on the phone. And then we have a newsletter that goes out every month to our clients by email. So they all get email, they get that Friends for Family postcard with a little incentive on there. And then we follow them up personally with special events that are going on in their lives. So that's our follow-up plan.
Can you talk about your newsletter just a little bit? Because that's pretty unique.
Our newsletter it's actually called Service for Life. You can actually Google it, and it's a format that's already put together. And then I customize it every month to fit whatever is going on that we are having involved. So maybe there's a community thing. We're very involved in the Alzheimer's walk because it does affect my family. So I have stuff about the Alzheimer's events that are going on. and if they want to get involved. So every month I tailor it to whatever's going on in the business personally or in the community. And then there is a trivia question in that newsletter every month that gives a giveaway to a gift card, and we have it for 3 winners. So they can either call us or email us or text us their answer, and then we get to stay in contact with people that way as well. So it's a cool program, but you got to invest some time in putting it together so that I always say it looks professionally and everyone thinks it's very informative. So that's kind of our newsletter that goes out every month. It's actually 2 full pages, but front and back newsletter.
Okay. And yeah, you said Service for Life. So if anyone wants to
Service
Google
for
it.
Life.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you do a lot of like personalized cards, the newsletter, and then From Your Friends that's just this, you said From Your Friends, which is just like the postcard.
Yep.
So this postcard gets us, all you have to do is give them your database, give them the name and number and email, and they'll come up with a different business that they send every single month. So this last month was Jamba Juice, and every time it's like the same branding on the back, and you don't have to think about it. But if you want to be in front of someone every month and you want to provide them with an item of value, that's an easy place to start because you don't have to do any thinking or any work. You just go to FromYourFriends.com, get them the people you have, and they mail them out for you. So everything that you do can start easy, and you can make it more complex or more creative. But until you have something set, then don't get caught up in all the details and complexity. All right, Marla, what do you do?
Jeremy and I make sure we are on top of, like you said, that inner circle of our sphere of influence every month. A lot of times when we go through the list around the 20th of every month to make sure we're in contact with those clients. And a lot of times we already are, whether it's a follow-up or another transaction that's going on, or a thank you or something along the lines of that. So those ones just kind of, since we've gotten in the habit of it, it happens very naturally. When it comes to my other pieces of business, I'm definitely not generating daily as much as I should. But we've gone with like the soft touch points. We have a couple of mailers we send a year. We usually one item that's personal through the database. And then I've really had great success just staying active and informative and helpful through social media channels. And that seems really helpful.
Okay, so what do you do? How many people are on your little, I'll call them allied resources? How many are there, and like, what are some specific things that you do to just stay so on top of mind with them? You say you contact them every month.
Yeah, so there are 12 people that are on our whale list, and that is sometimes actually more than that because a lot of them are also like husband, wives, or within an office. So as long as we make a touch point within that relationship every month, they've been very consistent. So it just kind of depends. Sometimes it is just a phone call following up, like I said, on another piece of business or something else we have going on with them. A lot of it has been care calls the last couple of months, just, talking about how has this impacted your business? Is anybody in your office sick? What is your home life like? Those type of conversations. But like I said, a lot of them usually are one of our other businesses is kind of integrated with these clients. So it's also just like once a month, making sure we're kind of being relevant on real estate things and kind of having that ask conversation of hey, do you have any other projects coming up? Do you know of anybody listing? Are any of your builds close to being finished? Or how are things going? Conversations.
Cool. So you have a builder in that, you have like flippers. What other industries do you have in your allied resources?
One of them is an estate sale company. One of them is an attorney. And then there's a couple of construction company guys.
Okay. So if you think about this and just the realities of real estate are people buy and sell when they have life experiences for the most part. There can be positive life experiences and there can be negative life experiences. And if you have estate sale contact, you have an attorney contact through divorce, you've got these different contacts. Those are market proof ways of generating, of continually having listings and continually having leads. Because no matter what the market is doing, people are always going to be transferring jobs. They're always going to be having babies. They're always going to be, doing things that could cause them to want to move. So it's a very smart way to do that. And if you don't know where to go, there's a sheet that was put out by Bold, and I have in the One Spot for Resources I can share with anyone. If you need your memory jogged of like, okay, who could be that person for me, or what would that look like? There's a 150-part questionnaire of who do you know that is a blank, and you just start writing names, and you're starting to do that because you could get these couple key repeat referral resources, and they don't have to be business owners, but typically when you have a business owner of any kind, they know that they need referrals because every business is in two businesses. They're in the business of generating leads, and they're in the business of whatever they do for a business. So it's really easy to say, what does a great referral look like for you? And they'll tell you, and then say, all right, cool. Well, this is what a great referral looks like to me. And the best way to get me a referral is set me up on a 3-way text with them, or let's like communicate with me to do that because, there's so many people that will tell me or tell us, yeah, I give your name and number to so many people. And it's like, well, that's great. I never hear from them. Or it's like, where does the other sock go when you put it in the dryer? Like, that's the same place where all those leads go that people tell you. They hand out your name and info. And so you got to direct them to be able to reach out to you and connect you guys as well. So that's a smart way to do that. And then lastly, quick, Marla, can you just share like how Jeremy is your husband, so how your other businesses kind of interline and interconnect with what you might be able to offer in real estate?
So my husband is also licensed, so he can help me with real estate, but he has a family furniture store he works at. And we also do a home staging and furniture rental business. So we stage a lot of the properties that we list. A lot of times we also provide an entire sheet of inventory that we have in the home with with prices on them. So we, a lot of times dining room sets get sold with homes. We've had a couple of new construction homes where buyers have come in and bought almost every single item in the home that we used to stage it. So that's kind of one of the ways. We also do some short-term, long-term furniture rentals. So it's relationships with different apartment complexes that, people who are renting, whether they're getting relocated here for a job transfer and they're in an apartment unit until their family comes or things like that. So we've gotten some leads that way. And that's one of the avenues I would like us to start drilling into more. It's definitely an area that I don't get as involved in. And then we also, I guess, like I said, selling furniture, we, buying and selling houses, whether it's people, a lot of times we end up with like old grandma's house and there's a sofa left behind or a chinette left behind it. And we come in as a value resource as like, hey, listen, we can get that out of here. If it's in not quality that we would get resold at our store, we can donate it to a church or these items. So it's just an extra piece of value that we can add. Sometimes those are difficult pieces and things to deal with for a family when they've moved their parents into an old age or senior living facility, things like that.
That's awesome. So let's just picture going up against Marla on an estate sale and trying to compete with her. You could say, I charge X% commission, or I'll do this, or I sold this. And they'll be like, well, that's fine. I'm going with Marla because she fills all these different value tools that I specifically need. And so the beauty of real estate is any personality can be awesome at it, and anyone can be successful. It boils down to having a mindset where you're believing in yourself, picking 3 ways of doing it, and just really like knocking that out of the park, and being okay with, man, if I went up against Marla on an estate sale, I would like get my butt handed to me. And because I can't be everyone to everything to everyone. And so that's really cool.
So that's also another way that we've kind of developed these like strategic relationships that we have, by, knowing that we have a general contractor that can come in, or an electrician, that this general contractor has hooked us up with, that is going to swap out that 60 amp panel to a 100 amp panel, because we know that's going to be an issue during the inspection phase. You might as well get these things done ahead of time. You usually can save a little bit of money when you have your choice of contractors you have to work with, things like that. So that's kind of been a circle piece of us solidifying some of these relationships, that we also give them referrals. We have a resource and a reason that we use them or need them mutually.
And I see this as like, if you've read the book The One Thing, you know that a domino can knock down a domino 1.5 the weight and size of the original domino. And I believe it's like the 39th or the 59th domino that would reach the moon. And so Marla might be on her like 28th domino right now, and you might be on domino 1 and saying, oh my God, how the hell can I do all that? Well, it just starts with, how do I get to domino 2? Because at one point she was at domino 1. So really, I think domino 2, or the next step is, all right, let's look at this list of 150 questions. Let's fill that out. And what couple people can I go after? Do I know an electrician? Do I know a hairdresser? Do I know a pastor? Do I know someone that knows a lot of people? And that's where you start. And we don't always have to get there from point A to point B, in a day. I know we're probably all impatient, and that's how we want it, but we're strategically building a plan and just enjoying the process too, and not just the destination. Shelly, what is what does lead generation look like for your team?
Okay, so CJ makes calls. So he makes calls every day, usually for 2 hours. And he usually does it in the morning. So he's calling Sphere. Typically we do quarterly calls. We do have a 36 touch program, so that we're touching our past clients and Sphere people around us in a purposeful way. And like I typically handle people that are in transactions or listings with us now. So I'm kind of, we use what Tony Baroni's The Promise, probably not as effective as he does, but now I've started to add in the 3-way text line that I thought was really good in telling people how I want referrals, instead of them just getting lost in the shuffle. So I do transaction management for our team right now. So I'm going to be talking to each client every week, and then also usually about 3 times during the transaction, I'll say the promise and what we're hoping for from them, to say that if we did a good job or not. And so asking for a referral, and also a 5-star review. So, and then now I'm also doing some social media. We have a social media presence, and then we also are trying to do Facebook leads through campaigns in Command. And I do that probably only once or twice a week, but it's usually for like a 3-hour time block to get through them all. So that's how it looks right now for our team.
And
well, for Lisa and CJ.
I know what CJ does, because you guys have a coach, and the coach holds him accountable to certain number of calls, certain number of connects. And so it's not just like I'm going to go call for 2 hours, but in reality, I'm playing, I'm watching like Michael Jordan, The Last Dance on one screen, and I'm pretending to call. Like, it's a strategic piece to that, and it's all because you have a business plan from the top down. And you know, you don't have to have team members and other pieces of the pie to do calls or to do that. And it doesn't also have to start at 2 hours. It could start at 30 minutes or 15 minutes. But there's magic in consistency. I would much rather have someone call 30 minutes a day for 5 days than 2.5 hours one day and not at all the other 4. There's way more power in doing it consistently than doing it all or nothing. It's the same thing as working out. If you worked out 30 minutes every day versus 2.5 hours on a Sunday, you're not going to get any results. So the consistency theory compounds. And when you talk about your sphere, it boils down to this. You have a certain number of people in your database, and you divide it by 13 because there's 13 weeks in a quarter. And that's how many people you got to call that week. And so a real easy way to do it is there's 26 letters in the alphabet. And KW has come up with a system that you would just take 2 letters each week. And you could do it either by first name or last name, but 2 letters each week, and you make sure you call all them that week. So you don't ever have to think about it. You just have to have the people in your database, and then it can all be set up from there where you never have to think about who you're going to call, because that's like half the battle. Well, who am I going to call? And then the other part of the battle is, what am I going to say to them? And once you know those 2 answers, then calling is actually really easy and fun. So that's really the first place to start. Again, if you tier this out and you start saying, okay, the bullseye is the repeat referral. Well, the next piece is, this is like what we call lifetime client. But you can call them your sphere, your forever client, whatever you have, but that's going to have a certain number of people on it. And these are the people that you contact once a quarter. And that should be a foundation for anyone. Jeff and Joe, what do you guys got? You guys are the machines. You guys are the Terminators.
I wouldn't go that far. Well, we call for 3 hours a day. We split that. For 2 hours, we call expireds, for sale by owners, and circle prospect. During the power hour later in the day, we call it's our FU money, follow-up money, which is where 50% of our deals are made, is following up with past expireds, clients, stuff like that. Then we go to command and work on the tasks and the sphere calls. We do about an hour of social media marketing every day. The 36 touch program is part of that command, that power hour. So we have the smart plans that are in there that we follow up on with birthdays, yearly home anniversaries, or whatever you want to call them. And then the bi-monthly call, so the tasks. So essentially we live by a calendar and command, which is our CRM.
So you don't have to think about it.
Right.
Which is good for Jeff.
Because I don't think.
So to recap, you've got, you start the day with 3 hours of calling, and that's 3 hours each?
2, and then we do the power hour, so 3 total.
Okay. So you guys each do 2, and then my understanding is one of you is more the FSBO guy and one of you is more the Expire guy? No?
It used to be that way, but now we share it equally and just double call everything.
Okay. When you double call, let's say, do you say, you obviously say like Joe with Reliance Real Estate or Jeff with Reliance Real Estate?
Not all the time.
Or do you say with Keller Williams?
Nope. We actually say, hi, this is Jeff. I'm a local real estate agent.
Okay.
Don't even give up the name.
Okay. So you're seeing like, you know, either one, the client might jive with one of you better. You might have success. They might be in a better mood or worse mood. Like you're just doubling your odds of making that happen.
Yeah, especially with the new ones. And then after that, like Jeff likes to go to the like month ago and try to call those. And I'll call straight through the list for maybe 45 minutes to an hour and like make sure, because all the other agents are falling off after 6 to 8 rings we hear, or even less than that. And we go up to like 20 rings or till they tell us, you know, they sold their house or go pound sand or whatever they want to tell us. But we won't stop calling them. Like I've called people for 2 years until I finally got a listing.
And by rings, you mean number of times you call them, not number of times you let the phone ring?
Correct.
Okay. So your specific business plan and strategy, if you so choose to do that, because I once heard that FSBOs eat their own young, so I have never called one because I'm afraid of them. However, if you so choose to do FSBOs and expireds and you build a business plan around it, then the fortune of it is you're assuming that, let's say your home expires off the market, or you put your home up for sale. Well, everyone is going to go and like mail you, call you, maybe visit you. And cause you're like, it's like bees swarming a beehive, but then eventually those bees move on to the next one and they stop focusing on that. And that's where you guys get your business, is by continuing to follow up on them and call them.
Correct.
Okay. So if you're thinking of if you're a for sale by owner, or if you're an expired listing, wouldn't you want, I mean, what a great way to source out the quality of a realtor and who's going to really work for them and go to bat for them, by just who's continuing to stay and follow up with them. It's like an easy no-brainer that their home was listed probably 6 months and it didn't sell. And now they want someone proactive. Well, here's these people that continue to just be proactive. Well, that's how you wear them down. So part of that 2 hours, do you guys, you said you're just kind of living by your calendar and your CRM. So do you focus on, hey, we're going to do an hour of FSBO, switch gears to hour expireds or Circle Prospect or Sphere? Or are you just like calling and just whatever shows up, that's who you call?
For me, I try to stick about an hour of expireds. It really depends on how many there are in there. And I do like to cycle through. So it's right about an hour. And then I tend to switch over. I do about an hour of Circle Prospecting. Jeff and I just decided to start doing FSBOs again because we're seeing them sit there, because I think people are pricing them too high. At the beginning of the year, last year, we actually got one for sale by owner, and it turned out to be three listings out of that, just by casually going there and talking to the guy. And Jeff has 2 previews set up this week already for sale by owners.
Yeah, and I know that you guys are doing a good job of like merging to what is the message of the market, and you're giving them the option, especially as a FSBO or an expired. Well, why don't we do a quick Zoom, or why can't we? Let's get a quick. Would a virtual appointment or in person work better? And you're giving them the option, which you're just looking at building that relationship and sharing how you can show your value and stand out from the competition. So this whole virtual world might help your guys' conversion rate tremendously, because you're not only then going into that in-person appointment where they got to put on pants and they got to clean their house and they got to do all that stuff that they might not want to do. And I found too that if you have a couple different ways that you're calling, it's probably best, to focus on one source for a certain amount of time, take a breath, drink some water, switch gears, and go to that next source. Otherwise, you're just kind of hopping all around, and your mind you're never able to like really focus on that.
Right.
Circle prospecting was mentioned, and Marla mentioned it from a circle prospecting aspect of sending out postcards around when a home's listed, when it's an accepted offer, when it's sold. Does anybody circle prospect with phone calls or door knocking?
Yeah, we do the phone calls, and we do it just listed, accepted offer, just sold, and we also allow Matthew to use it for finding new clients for his buyers or houses for buyers.
Can you share what Matthew does for his circle prospect? And just so you guys know, circle prospect would be, another word for farming, which is picking a neighborhood. If you have a house or you have a certain neighborhood, you're just defining that neighborhood and you're getting a list of numbers. So explain how you get the numbers and then what Matthew says when he does that.
So Matthew's going to be a little bit different than us because we're saying we just listed, accepted offer, just sold the property, trying to find out if anybody else. But Matthew specifically calls and says, "Hey, I have a pre-approved buyer up to 300,000 in your neighborhood looking to find a house, and we're not able to. So we're trying to find out if anybody's looking to buy it." I don't have his exact script, but he's literally asking them, "Are you looking to make the move this year?" Because we have a pre-approved buyer, you know.
You know what I love about that is it goes back to like the Keller Mortgage thing or just anything. You can get clients by saying that you do that. And so if he meets with a buyer on a buyer appointment and says, you know, the difference between our team or me and a normal realtor is most realtors, they just are reactive to what comes on the market. Well, I'm going to be proactive. And if you have your dream neighborhood, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a list of all those numbers and I'm going to call them and I'm going to see if I can, you know, kick up some dirt and some dust and get you in a home that nobody else knows about, especially with how competitive the market is. How cool would it be? You would have a raving fan for life if you found someone a deal by calling around and saying, you know what, actually, I did hear that homes were selling really well and I would be interested in having someone come out if you have a buyer. I called one person randomly for a buyer of mine and they were like, yeah, actually we are thinking of selling. Now they gave me to their realtor because they have a great relationship, but setting up a showing just on one random phone call. So if you don't have people to call or if you've care called your people to death, see if you have a buyer that's really hot to trot and circle prospect. You are able to door knock now, you know, without being weird. And also, like, where do you guys get those names, Joe?
You can get them a lot of different places, but I think we still use Red X or Cole Realty for ours, but you can go through Vulcan 7 as well and get them.
So there's services that, which one you guys use Red X now? So obviously that's the one you would recommend.
It's about the same. We use the Vulcan as well for some of our calling, so we just kept with a different platform for the buyer agent.
Okay. And our team uses Vulcan 7 for that circle prospecting. And so I would say between like Vulcan 7, Mojo, Cole, or Red X, and there's also Land Voice. Like there's probably 5 services. If that's something you guys took away from today, let us know and we can get that hooked up. Now, obviously there's do not call lists, and you can still have people that are not on that do not call, or if you're really believe that you're being proactive for your buyer that wants that neighborhood, then you know who you're calling or who you're knocking, and you know what you're going to say, and you're there to do a service. And no one's going to get mad at you by saying, I know it's super competitive right now, and I am just wanting to be proactive and just seeing if there's anything that I could find for my client. And you're just working. You're being so valuable, and you're working, and you're being proactive. So I love that. I got one more question I want to ask. We're coming up on the end, but I think this is a very unique question. So if you guys can stay a couple extra minutes, that would be awesome. But I was just curious. I don't know the answers to this, and you guys may not have something, but a lot of times with listing appointments, the thing that holds us back is fear, limiting belief, or lack of confidence in ourselves. And so I was just curious to if you guys had a story of maybe the most courageous thing you've done that directly resulted in a listing appointment, and you know, if you had something fun that you wanted to share around that.
Scott, you were talking about, this isn't like a courageous thing I did to get a listing appointment, like above and beyond to get it, but you were talking about how you're like scared to call like expireds. My first time I ever called an expired listing was behind my parents' garage, and I got in touch with the seller. It's about 9 years ago, and I got so freaked out, I just hung up on the seller. So I thought that was pretty funny, but I mean, anybody could do it. So if you want to try something different, Anybody could do it. It just takes some practice, and then you really get used to the no's. You know, now you can't tell me no, and I won't be offended. Don't worry.
So your first domino was call them and hang up. So as long as your domino is better than that, then you started better off than you did.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Does anybody else have a fun story?
We once door knocked, and when we were walking up to the door, I think it was a Doberman came screaming up to the door, and if Jeff didn't put his foot up against the door, it probably would have came through and like chased us down the street in suits. So yeah, and we've been in some pretty sketchy things. I don't know. We've also, like, Jeff had to help scrape and paint a buyer's house back in the day to help them get to closing because they weren't able to get out there and do it. Not courageous, but going above and beyond to try to help make a deal go together.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm gonna pop in here and say it. I think the most courageous thing I ever did was to call Facebook leads, because not being an agent and being, CJ's kind of second in command, but not an agent, I sometimes get like imposter syndrome, like, ooh, I don't know if I should be on this call. I'm not an agent. So I felt kind of the same way about making the calls, because it's like I'm the kind of person that likes to know what I'm doing. And so I just had to like fumble through it. And, nobody, I mean, the people on the other end, like, they really don't care. Like, it's like, even if I'm horrible, like, they're like, oh, put down the phone. What am I going to have for a snack? Like, it's so like all in my head. So to just go and do it. And if you suck, you'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
How are you
Yeah,
opening that? I'm sorry. Am I allowed to ask a quick question?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, how are you opening up that conversation the first time you pick up the phone to call an expired or for sale by owner?
Well, like the first line is hi, because we'll be able to see their name. I don't ask them like, hey, is this Jeff or is this Joe? Because that gives them an opportunity like, oh crap, this is a sales call. So I'll just go right into it. And if his name is Scott, I'm like, hey Scott, this is Jeff. I'm a local real estate agent. I saw your home came off the market. Is that still for sale, or did you actually sell the house? And then they kind of go into, no, I saw it came off the market, or it came off the market, my agent didn't tell me, and then you kind of go into your script.
And I ask their name, so I'm a little different. But it just either their name or the address, depending if I can say their name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
go ahead. I was just gonna say that lately, going up against limited brokers or flat fees that you probably have seen a lot, where we have went up against that. We've won, but I think the biggest way how we won is we just showed our value, why we're full service. So follow-up is huge, because I will follow up with a lot of time with a personal video tailored to them personally. And that has won us over on a couple of discount brokers, which I've been really happy with, because they easily could have went the other way.
And I'll add that I'm very uncomfortable if I'm giving opinions, so I like to hide behind data. So if you have the time to, really research your listing appointment and internalize the data, then for me, it allows me to present with a lot more confidence.
Yeah, and so the cool thing is the next topic is on, okay, you've got the appointment. What do you do? How do you pre-qualify? What are some great things to do? The third part of this series is, what do you say on the listing appointment? And then the fourth thing is how do you handle those objections? And so there's 4 different pieces of this puzzle. This was to get really dive in deep to how to get the appointments. And if you guys want to time block this time, like right after the meeting, I think it's very, very valuable info. Lindy, did you have something? I know you have, your job takes a lot of courage. What is something specifically you might have thought of that really was like, hey, I'm scared, but I did it, and now it couldn't even, maybe it didn't even result in an appointment, but you at least did it, and you felt good about it.
No, it was actually for the team, highest price closing was from a follow-up call that the first time the guy hung up on me. So I would say, you just can't let that initial call set the tone. He was walking into a meeting and he just cut me off very brisk and not interested, I'm very busy, whatever. And the next day his mood was completely different. So I could have easily said, I'm not going to try again. He was really short with me, but, you just kind of can't read into people in that way, I guess.
I want to double up on that. 90% of the people won't even remember that you called them the day before. So I never, ever, after I found out, say, hey, I called you yesterday, or hey, we talked a week ago. I just start over like brand new. Like it's Dory from, Nemo. Hey, and it works because they're like, oh yeah, and then you just start your regular conversation again. Unless they remember you because they saved you in their phone, and they usually say like, hey Joe, when they answer. So
Marla, do you have anything on that topic, or Diana? Sorry.
I was just going to ask Joe and Jeff, do you guys, there is a Keller Williams agent, and I'm forgetting his name, it might be Nick, but did you guys ever tape your calls once, just video record yourself calling, just to share with people? I was just curious if you guys ever done that when you've done FSBOs or expires. It's this one agent, I don't know if you guys seen him, he does it on Facebook, and he actually has a video showing people how he interacts when he calls expires.
There is a guy called Derek Lipsky.
Derek Lipsky.
Yeah, he does
That's
that.
it.
I actually did that once where I tried recording it and I hit record and I thought I was. And then at the end, I'm like, oh man, it's super cool. I got a listing appointment during the recording. Wasn't there. So maybe I'll try that again sometime.
We have had people sit in the office and listen to us though. So if it's a day that we're there, you're more than welcome to pop in and hang out.
I'm here every morning. So if anybody does want to just sit in and listen and even find motivation to want to prospect, bring your numbers, we'll all prospect together. And it's nice because when you do prospect together, you kind of keep each other motivated. And if there was like a terrible objection and you kind of feel like crap, I go to Joe and say, hey man, how can I have handled that differently? And so it's nice when you do prospect together. That's why we have these things with like the two sides. So then when Joe's talking or I'm talking, it kind of drowns him out.
And we can laugh when we get those horrible objections.
And as the ultimate goal of our office is we're creating this environment of production. And in order to create an environment of production, let's start our day at 9 by getting a little bit of mindset dose and then going into a script. And then 9:30, let's make some phone calls, or let's actively lead generate from 9:30 to 10:30. And so maybe we're doing this virtually now. Maybe you just are on this Zoom at 9:30 to 10:30 and you're doing your mailers or you're doing your social media, but you have these 10, 15 people that we're all doing lead generation together to keep us moving forward and to keep our business moving forward consistently. And if you can only do it 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and you do that consistently every day, it's much better again than doing it one time and then just skipping it and forgetting about it. So I could go on and on and on, but this was awesome. So Kathy, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just was going to say in the old office, we could overhear Joe and Jeff. And the beauty of listening to their phone conversations is number one, they were able to be calm in their presence, but the majority, almost the full content was questions. They didn't have to be the expert on everything. Most of it was inquiries, which allowed them to gather the data that they needed, and it self-directed the conversation for them, and they followed the lead, that the person on the other end was providing. But that's a key component for me when I feel like I'm scared to call. I'm just asking questions. Mm-hmm. They're giving the answers.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Kathy, because our old office it wasn't all the way to the ceiling. You could hear Joe and I fart and stuff.
Well, we heard quite a bit.
Yes. So
I deny. It was all Jeff.
The basic takeaway on this, and I hope you guys got at least a way that you're going to focus on generating listing appointments, and some tools and ideas to get your brain going. And hopefully you walked away with a couple action items to put into place. Next week, you can now know like what you can do to maximize your success on your listing appointment before you get there. But we're here to help. If you need that 150 question survey, it's in the one spot for resources, and it's under lead generation levers. That's a great place to go to look at what the options are and where we're going. But if you need, I can get it to you. We're here to help in any way that we can. So, and then where do we get scripts? So, there's multiple places, and we have scripts for different ideas around how to generate leads. And Maps Coaching has really good scripts. Bold has really good scripts. And if you're in our one spot, then there's scripts around, every type of way to generate. The best scripts right now are the Bold Pivot scripts, because they keep in mind like what's happening right now post coronavirus. And so it's like the message of the moment. It just tweaks what was always said the last 15 years and make them relevant for here. So Bold Pivot and KW Connect, and just different ways, study what you're doing, and just take small action. And so this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Great value.
Thank your panelists. Give them a round of applause. Yay. All right. Bye.